Okay, so our last selection tool we're going to talk about at this point in our Photoshop careers is something called the Magic Wand tool. Now, the Magic Wand tool is one of the most powerful selection tools that Photoshop has, because what it allows us to do is to click on any pixel in the canvas, and then the Magic Wand tool selects other pixels based on something called tolerance. Now, tolerance simply means the similarity of their colors. And the key to understanding tolerance is to understand that every single Photoshop file or any picture that you bring in, um, every pixel in that image has a number. And the clearest example that we can do is if we were to look at a grayscale image. A grayscale image just means that every pixel in that image is either 256, one of only 256 shades of gray. Now, I don't have a grayscale image for us to look at, but what we can think about is that there are 256 shades that we could pick. And so when we choose a tolerance, the smaller the number, the less you're going to select. The greater the number, the more you're going to select. And you obviously couldn't go higher than 256 because that's as many shades of a color as there is in an image. So, with that being said, we're going to practice using the magic wand a couple of different ways here. We're going to finish off our puzzle, and then we're going to open a new document and play around with the magic wand a little bit as well. So what we want to do first here, make sure that if you have your caps lock still selected from the last video, turn your caps lock off, and then we're going to select our magic wand tool. So the magic wand tool is directly underneath that polygonal lasso tool or the lasso tool. It literally looks like a little magic wand. If for some reason it's not selected, you can click on it, hold it down, and then click on the magic wand tool. That'll pop that open. And then what we want to actually do is talk a little bit about our options bar up here. You can see right now that my tolerance is set to 1. Yours might be at 0, it could be at 32, it could be any random number that is just defaulted. I honestly don't remember what the default number is. We're actually going to put our tolerance to 8. And then we're going to make sure that this anti-alias and the contiguous boxes are both checked. So anti-alias, we're not going to spend a ton of time on this, but all that means is whether or not we're going to have a really sharp edge or whether we're going to have a smooth edge. If the checkbox is checked, we're going to have a smooth edge. If the checkbox is unchecked, we're going to have a sharper, more distinct edge to our pixels. And contiguous means touching. So when the contiguous box is checked, we're going to have the pixels that get selected all be touching each other. And we'll play around with contiguous when I said we open that other file. So essentially what we're going to do now is I want you to go over to the missing piece, the one that we haven't filled yet. And what I want you to do is actually click anywhere in that white area. Click it one time, and you'll see that the magic wand tool actually makes a fairly good selection of that entire piece that's missing. So what we can do now is just sort of float over that white selection, and we're going to click, which means we're going to drag our entire selection over, and we're just going to put that selection right over our piece number 7. Kind of drop it in there and then let go. Okay? And now what we want to do is switch over to our move tool, which is going to allow us to move our piece up and over and drop it into that spot. And then when we're happy with where it is, we can do a Control D to deselect. And again, you can see relatively a clear, good fitting. Okay, so we're opening up B2 here. Again, it's the same sort of hot air balloon that we had before, except this is not actually a puzzle. It's just a completed photo of our hot air balloon. So I just opened it up and did a quick fit on screen. And so what I want us to do right now is make sure that our magic wand tool is selected. It's going to remember exactly what we used the last time we used that tool. So if you remember when we were moving that piece number 7, we had a tolerance of 8, an anti-alias, and our contiguous boxes were checked. So what I want you to do right now is, just so we can understand what tolerance means and contiguous, with your magic wand tool, just go out onto that red middle rectangle of the hot air balloon and click anywhere kind of in the middle of it. And so what you're going to see happening here, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit to show you, is wherever you clicked, what your magic wand tool does is it selects pixels that are similar in that color that you clicked on, 8 shades darker and 8 shades lighter. And because it's contiguous, we only selected the ones that are touching. So now what I want you to do, I'm just going to double click my hand tool. Let's deselect and click on your magic wand. I want us to change our tolerance. Oops. Let's change our tolerance to 48. And then try to click the same box or same spot on your red rectangle. When you do that now, you can see as our tolerance got bigger, the more area we selected. So now we have it should be, depending on where you clicked, it should select pretty much that entire red rectangle. If that didn't happen for you, try again. Just deselect, change your tolerance, and then click anywhere on that red rectangle and it should work for you. Now what I want you to do is to understand what contiguous means by touching. So let's actually uncheck the contiguous box up here. And once again, click anywhere on that red rectangle. So as you can see, what happens here is that our contiguous box means touching. So now, because we unchecked it, it actually selects those same pixels anywhere it can find it in the image. So you can see where that could be an awfully powerful tool. For example, what we're going to try to do here is select all of the reddish, orange-ish images or pixels in this image, and then we're going to change the color. So that can actually be a really cool tool to use if you need to. So I'm just going to deselect real quick to show you that again. You want to uncheck contiguous. We're going to leave our tolerance at 48, and then I'm just going to click anywhere in the red rectangle, and that selects any of those pixels that are similar in color throughout the whole image. It doesn't have to be touching. So similar to the way that all of our other tools have worked so far, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here so it's easier for me to work. Similar to the way our other tools have worked, we can hold our Shift key to add to a selection, and we can hold our Alt key down to take away. So what I'm going to do is actually hold my Shift key, and I'm going to try to select a few more of these images. Now you have to be careful, because if you try to get super technical in here, you might start selecting some of the purple and the blue. The reason being is right now our tolerance is still set at 48. You could turn your tolerance down so it didn't grab so much. You can see up here, I've got it pretty filled in. If I select up here, I got to be kind of careful because I might start selecting some of the purple and the blue. So I'm just going to check my red and orange areas to see how I'm doing. Yep, here we go. I bet if I select that. Okay, so do you see how I clicked over here? And this is kind of dark in that area. And what happened is all of this black got selected. So I'm actually just going to undo that. And I'm going to turn down my tolerance a little bit. I'm going to turn my tolerance down to like 5 and see if I can select some of these darker pieces. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit more. Maybe I'll try 10. Let's see how that goes. Okay, that's a little bit better there. I'm happy with that. Pretty good. Now, without spending, like I said, a ton of time doing this, you can see I grabbed a little bit right there, so I'm going to hold my Alt key down and just uncheck that. And I'm going to fit on screen and see that I have all of my red and orangish areas of the balloon selected. So again, this takes a little bit of practice to just do it, but remember that it works the same way as our other tools. So Shift to add, Alt to take away. If you feel like you're grabbing more than you need, try turning your tolerance down. If you need to grab more, try turning your tolerance up. Remember, tolerance is simply the similarity of the pixel colors. So once you have this selected, I'm just going to show you a cool way that you can work with these pixels. So once your pixels are selected, we can actually go up to Image and then Adjustments. And then we're going to go over here to Hue and Saturation. And this little dialog box is going to pop up. And if you drag your hue slider, remember your hue is actually just the color of whatever pixel you want to choose. You could make it blue or turquoise. You can make it hot pink if you wanted to, purples. So you can see it change. I'm going to do kind of a limey green here. And remember, your saturation is just how intense your color is. So if you want it to be real intense, you make it, drag it to the right. And if you want it to be less intense, you drag it to the left. And then, of course, you have lightness as well. So I'm going to bump up the saturation just a little bit and then click OK. And then I'm going to deselect. And so that's one way that you can work with and manipulate pixels in an image is by selecting them. And then you could do something like change the color, you could change brightness, you could do lots of different things. And we'll talk about some of our adjustments later on. But that's working with our Magic Wand tool.